Hello, I'm Christina Sprader, the Associate Director here at the Institute for Personalized Learning. Thanks so much for joining us today on another episode of our Learner-Centered Design series, Tools for Transformation. Over the last 8 years of existence, we've had the fortune of working with many amazing pioneers and leaders who are designing amazing learner-centered practices for students in their schools, all a part of this growing network. We have created a variety of processes, tools, and resources for understanding the why of personalized learning, what it means and looks like, and how to make it come to life in a learning community. One of our most utilized resources is our honeycomb model and its supporting change strategy. Our implementation toolkit also houses a wide range of resources and tools designed by educators and leaders for practitioners, no matter where they are along the implementation progression. Our Learner-Centered Design series is an opportunity to take a deeper dive into some of these tools, what they are, what their purpose is, and how they can support your learning community in moving this transformational work forward. You can also access them through the Institute website where you can download and further explore. Feel free to pause the video to download or connect with others around the topic being discussed at any point. Today's episode of the Learner-Centered Design series is about the stages of transformation when moving toward a learner-centered paradigm. As you can see on the screen in the lower corner, you have access to this URL, so if you type in the i4pl.link into your web browser, you can access and download this tool and others through that URL. The Institute for Personalized Learning's toolkit was created in response to frequently asked questions following presentations, trainings, and PD sessions. The toolkit is comprised of a collection of tools, processes, and activities, all categorized within one of our 6 stages, and is updated annually. As you can see on the screen, the toolkit is currently in its 7th edition. It was designed to be used within any given context dependent on current levels of implementation and ideas for next steps in this transformational work. These are the stages that are utilized when discussing transformation of a system, as well as stages that are used to organize the tools inside of our toolkit. The stage that we begin with is getting started, then design, then implementation, then iteration, expansion, and eventual systemic change. Today's episode is going to take a closer look at these 6 stages. Each of these stages are critical to the framework of moving a system to full implementation of a learner-centered paradigm. Let's get started with the tool today. Each of the tools in the toolkit allow for practical application in various contexts designed around a specific purpose. The purpose of this tool will really align with what you see the need of your team, your school, your district. A few purposes that this tool may be used for are on your screen right now. It might be a tool that you use when identifying current status of implementation across your system. It might be a tool you use when you're looking to support a shift towards systemic change, or when you're engaging your school community in addressing the status quo, or setting goals within a system basing where you are to where you want to go. Or maybe it's a tool that you'll utilize to identify key talking points with various stakeholders throughout your system. You might use this in a staff meeting, with leadership team meetings, in a special work group, to communicate with your community, or maybe in a PLC or PD session. At the end of today's episode, or if you want to pause now, we encourage you to start to think about what is the purpose that you see in utilizing this tool, and how can you make it come to life in your context. As previously mentioned, the Institute has a 6-stage transformational process for moving personalized learning practices across a system. The first stage is getting started, then design, implementation, iteration, expansion, and systemic change. These are really bundled into a few bigger ideas. When this work begins and when teams are creating their designs, we have a specific focus on changing mental models of what school has been and could be by identifying assumptions, beliefs, and thinking about learning. This is an incredibly important stage as a foundation for ensuring sustainability in this work long term. As we move into the implementation and iteration phases, we're really talking about building off of those assumptions, beliefs, and thinking to change or to design the learner's experience. So building off our own thinking to create an experience that changes the learning outcomes for our learners. As we move into the last two stages, we're really moving into changing the system. So we start with our own thoughts and our own beliefs and what we know about students and learning to a designing experience that changes what our learning looks like for our learners, and ending with making this a system-wide change. The system change, or the expansion and systemic change, requires courageous leaders ready to make a lasting difference on all learners so that the default in education does not go back to an instructional paradigm, but rather supports developing powerful learners. All of these are challenging to change across the system, which is why we have developed various tools to support someone who is anywhere or a system that's anywhere along this progression. This tool is not specifically an activity that you might do with your team, but rather an overview of both the toolkit and a way to begin to have some common conversation among teams of where you are as a system and on teams in moving toward full implementation of personalized learning. You could take some time with your team having some conversation about where you are along the progression and dig more deeply into the toolkit section aligned with that stage. Or you could identify where various individuals and teams are along the progression and identify tools within the toolkit that might support their growth in moving this work forward. This is a page that is directly out of the toolkit that shows the 6 stages, has a brief description, and then the rest of the toolkit is broken down into these stages. Tools inside the toolkit within each stage encourage self-reflection, guiding discussions, and templates or tools to use for implementation within any given stage. Here are a few examples of the first tool you might see when paging through the different sections of the toolkit. Feel free to pause and have a conversation about where you are along the continuum and search for the tools listed within that stage. We would love to hear your feedback on utilizing any of the tools, or if you have an idea of something that's really powerful that would help any system, any team, any individual move forward within any given stage, all with the ultimate goal of moving towards full personalized learning for all learners. When we talk about using the tools in the toolkit or utilizing the outline of the 6 stages to identify tools you might use, we're really talking about the need to be very purposeful and intentional of what your needs are at the time. So our toolkit is a set of tools designed to be used together or individually for a particular purpose. So we really encourage you to match the tool that you need to use, the tool that you choose to use, the tool that you are using to a particular purpose for moving your system forward. So the purpose of this tool may be to answer the question, how do we move forward toward a system designed around learner practices? Or how can we utilize common language around this transformational work? So again, maybe it's having a conversation about where you feel you are along this implementation progression, and then maybe digging into the toolkit and looking at the hundreds of tools that are listed within the toolkit under each of these stages. If you're looking for more than just this tool, if you're ready to explore within each of those stages, download the entire free toolkit on the link in front of you. You can also connect with us at the email listed on the screen, And we really encourage you to share this with colleagues. We want you to share this tool, this video. We want you to share your thinking, your ideas as a part of this growing network, working to design tools, resources, templates, anything that helps to support the implementation of personalized learning forward so that it is the default in our education system. Thanks for joining us today. We're looking forward to the next episode of the Learner Centered Design Series, Tools for Transformation.